Hi everyone, I'm Gautam aka The Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation and a mindset coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking about taking our own sweet time with regards to manifestations, becoming a magnet for all our desires, and so much more. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching, so I offer one-on-ones, courses, and masterclasses. I have a free Facebook group and a paid Facebook group, and last but not least, I also have a mailing list. If you guys need any information on any of those things, feel free to email me or DM me via Instagram for more information. Stick around till the end to find out more about the giveaways I'm doing. And without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So this is one of those videos that I should have done a long time ago, to be honest with you guys. And I'm not sure why I didn't do it. But nevertheless, I think this is a message that many of you out there should hear. And this is something that is prevalent in the community. And I'll get to it. But earlier I had a client call, and that is what prompted this whole video, I would say. That and a couple other things, and I'll get into it. But primarily this call. And this was one of those calls that I had to give like this client tough love, right? And it happens where some clients need a bit more tough love than others to give them that push. And I'm all for it. And my tough love isn't like I won't scold that person or something like that. And I wouldn't even like raise my voice or something, but like I'll just tell them like, hey, straight up, like this is what you have to do. We are at a crossroads right now. And the main issue with this client was nothing but the fact that they just wanted their desires fast, like ASAP, which is a common, desire for a lot of people. Like they not just want to have their desires, but they want to have it like ASAP, as soon as possible. And as a result, this person ended up doing things that only, push their desires back, in my opinion. And this is something that many people end up doing to themselves in the form of reacting to the 3D, manipulating the 3D, doing things that would really kind of push their desires from unfolding a while longer. And that to me is like self-sabotage at its finest. But the one reason that many people give when they do this is, well, I don't want this to take this long, like certain time long, and therefore I end up doing things in an attempt to accelerate the process, right? And even though this client didn't really say that, but what ended up happening, long story short, I'm not going to get into the exact details of it. We went back and forth a couple times. She has this cycle where like she will get her SP back, and then things will happen, and then the SP will leave her life, and then the SP will come back, and this happens in a matter of weeks. And this puts tremendous amount of stress on any person. And so recently she went through that cycle again, and like one thing that I always tell people when these types of things happens is to go back to self-concept, right? So that's what she did. She went back to her self-concept, and within 3 days her SP came back. At this point, I'm not even surprised, right? What ends up happening was she reacts, does a few things, and kind of ends up in a place where she started, basically, pretty much. And one of her primary concerns, when I asked her, okay, why did you do things the way you do? Okay, like, let's break it down. Her concern, which is echoed by many other people, is, well, what if it takes a year? What if it takes a year for my SP to come back? I can't live without this person. And my question to this person was, so what if it takes a year? So what if it takes a year? Let's roll with that argument for a second. And my point was, rather than putting yourself in cycles of like constant highs and lows, I'd rather somebody take a year and get their SP and keep them for good. Because most people are good at getting their SPs, but they suck at not keeping them, right? Or they suck at keeping them, I should say. And that is the issue here. And most people just focus on the first aspect of it, but very few really question like, hey, what does it actually take to keep my SP for good? Like, what does it actually take for me to live that long life with them, that happily ever after with them? And I've said this time and time and time and again, like, it's not a big deal to manifest your SP. It's really not. But it is a big deal to keep them for good. And one thing that I've always told my clients, and I have repeated this on my Instagram as well, is you don't need a good self-concept to manifest your SP, but you do need a good self-concept to keep them for good. You do need a self-concept to keep them for good. A good one, right? And that is the core of the issue here with a lot of people, is they're not working on themselves. They are dealing the disease on a surface level. They're treating the disease on a surface level without getting to the core of the issue. Thus, what happens? The disease still remains, right? The root of the problem has not been solved, i.e. their SC, their self-concept. And my thing is this, right? Like, a lot of people are hesitant to focus on their self-concept because they often think like, okay, how will focusing on my self-concept get me my SP? Or how is it relevant? They don't see the connection. And again, I always say, everyone is you pushed out. Everyone is a mirror reflection of you. The whole world is. So if you give yourself the love, if you give yourself the happiness, the peace, the joy, guess what your SP is going to do? Your SP is going to do the same things. Right? They're exactly going to treat you like the way you treat yourself. If you treat yourself like the king and the queen that you are, guess what? They're going to treat you like royalty as well, guys. Like, it's not that difficult to understand that. But in application, like, a lot of people fail to recognize that. And as a result, they don't see the connection and they neglect their self-concept with regards to their SP. So much so that when their SP comes back, it only shines a bright light on the work that needs to be done on their self-concept. And it is a good thing, right? Because it shows like, okay, where do you need to work on and what do you need to do and things like that. But where I have an issue with is when people make it a pattern, like a repeated pattern. And worse yet, you compare yourself with folks in the community. Like, hey, why did this person get their manifestation so quickly? Why do I have to suffer? You know why. Because you have not done the internal work yet. The folks who get their SPs quickly and more importantly keep them for good are the folks who have done the internal work. They don't neglect that. Like, make no mistake, there is no running away from doing that internal work. If it's one thing that I have realized over the years as a manifestation coach, being in this space, even prior to that, all my years here, like, I've been in this space for like 7 years now, right? If it's one thing that I have recognized, especially now more so than ever, like in my last video, in one of my previous videos, where I spoke about narcissism and things like that, like, you guys know what happened with me, and if that incident proved anything to me, is like, there is no substitute for internal work. Never. You can have all the money in the world and lose it if you don't do the internal work. You can have the most loving person in your life and lose it if you don't do the internal work. Like, that is the most important work that you have to do. Most people in the manifesting community seems to be neglecting it, right? So my thing is that, coming back to the whole 1 year thing, so what if it takes a year? You are going to be working on yourself. And a lot of people, again, like, they don't make the connection between their self-concept and SP. And firstly, it's not going to take a year. But let's just say, for argument, right, like, it will take a year for you to manifest your SP if you only just focused on your self-concept. So what? Because at the end of that 1 whole year, you are going to come out as a calm, cool, collected, confident person who is beaming with love for themselves, that it attracts not just SP but everyone. So much so that you have an abundance of choice. You can choose. And I have seen people in that spot, and it's so heartwarming to see them in that place of empowerment. And my thing is that you can never go wrong by working on yourself. By choosing to work on yourself, that is a lifelong investment. And a lot of people seem to dread the year that they're going to take, hypothetically speaking, right? They're like, oh, well, it's going to take a year. How am I going to live without this person? Or what am I going to do this whole year, like, without this person? Firstly, like, the only reason why your SP has value is because of you. Like, you have assigned that meaning that, hey, this person gives me love. This person gives me the joy that I need to feel within. You gave that meaning to this person. You assigned that this person should make me feel a certain way. And when they don't, you suffer. So it's all on you. Whereas if you recognize, like, hey, nobody can make me feel a certain way, there's nothing that they can give that I can't give myself, that is a empowering place to come from. So much so that even when these people like SP, your family members, your friends, your loved ones in general, when everyone shows you the love, like, it's nothing but a bonus to the already infinite love that you're giving yourself. Because I always tell my clients, like, when you tap within, that's an infinite source right there. Whereas when you are latching onto others, that's a finite source, right? Depending on your self-concept, it may or may not run out, right? And tapping onto others basically is like using fossil fuels. That thing is going to run out. But when you tap within yourself, that thing is like nuclear energy. Thing runs forever, basically, right? So if I were you, I would really see it this way and give myself, the most importance, and really give myself all the love I need, really give myself, the peace of mind that I need, and really invest in myself in terms of whatever I do, be it in my work, my career, my hobbies, just investing in myself in any way, shape or form I could, whilst my manifestation is coming, right? So I would just like take a break, especially if you're in like a toxic kind of SP situation, I would just take a break and just focus on myself and just do things that makes me happy. Right? Do things that makes you happy, and don't tell me like, oh, SP is the only thing that makes me happy. No. Your SP is a part of your life. A relationship is an aspect of life. It is not your entire life. It should never engulf your whole life. You are a person, right? A whole person who has aspirations, dreams, hobbies, interests, and things that you like to do. You are a soul individual who has ideas and aspirations of their own. And guess what? That's not going to change just because you are in a relationship. So what I'm saying is, go and do those things in the meantime. Like, why not? Right? So why not invest in yourself in the meantime? Like, okay, if you know for a fact that SP is already yours and that they are coming, knowing what you know, why would you spend the remaining time like regretting and being in a like constant like toxic negative like self-talk sort of cycle, right? Why would you be in that? Why would you put yourself through mental torture is what I'm trying to say. Why would you do that to yourself, right? And here's the deal, I always tell this to people as well, you're never going to be this young ever again. Like, based on my personal journey and based on a lot of my clients' journey, I've seen folks like waste years in that kind of thing, where they think about a certain person, they just worry about this certain person, so much so that they lose a lot of years in their lives. And here's the deal, like, as much as time is not linear, we do experience time in a linear fashion, right, as humans. And so when you look back, you want to have fun memories. You want to live a life where you can look back and be like, you know what, I'm so happy with what I did with my youth. A lot of people take their youth for granted, especially whether you are in your 20s or 30s or even 40s for that matter. Like, you guys are still young, right? Don't take that stuff for granted. Don't take that stuff for granted, because time does fly. And my point is that live a life that you can look back at and smile at. And as cheesy as that sounds, that is the point of life, is like not just to make the end destination a bittersweet one, but to make every single step a joyful one. Life is nothing but a collection of memories. And I would rather say that if you want to have a fulfilled life or fulfilling life, go and do things that doesn't just involve SP. Do things that fulfills your heart too. They will come, they are going nowhere. Don't make this about another person, make this about yourself. Besides SP, like what is it that you want? Go and do that. If it takes a year, that's 365 days. Like you have a whole new opportunity every single day to do something fun. So why don't you go and do something for yourself, something that you would thank yourself for? And if you come at it from that perspective, what ends up happening is that SP is brought down from the pedestal immediately. Why? Because you have now chosen to work on yourself, and you automatically become the focus rather than the SP. And they do feel the pullback, by the way. They really do. And my thing is that when it does happen, like when you focus on yourself, your SP coming to you is an automatic thing. Like just like how in business they always say, okay, do the things that you like and money will come as a byproduct. Same thing here. When you focus on yourself and you pour all the energy in the world to bettering yourself, doing things for yourself, making yourself happy, your SP will automatically come, and it will just feel like a nice bonus to your already amazing life. And that is the point you should be at, in my opinion. And a lot of people, however, because love is a very intense feeling to feel, and it's one of those things that we have been hardwired by society to feel like, okay, we do need a companion. And make no mistake, like that stuff is nice. Having a companion is nice. Having someone to hug, someone to experience life with, that stuff feels good. I'm not saying no. But the thing is that stuff only feels good if you feel good within prior to their arrival. If you don't feel good within prior to their arrival and you make it an expectation on them to make you feel good, that's when things get, muddy and chaotic. And I don't have to tell you guys this. Like, many of you are way elder to me, and many of you, I'm sure, would have experienced that. So my thing is that recognize it for what it is and don't be concerned about the time. And like some people will say, oh, well, what if SP moves on in the meantime? No, they won't. Why would you assume that? Right? And my thing is that, okay, even if they hypothetically have a 3P or something, whatever needs to move will move. Treat everything as the bridge of incidents towards the fulfillment of your desire. Don't gauge everything based on what you see or what you don't see in the 3D. You will get what you desire. Trust me, you will get it. But again, a lot of people sabotage themselves because when they are working on themselves or when they're doing any sort of like manifestation technique, they always tend to kind of peek into the 3D and wonder, hey, is this working? No, like you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that because 3D is very deceptive. I always tell my clients, look at the quality of your thoughts to see how well you're doing. Can I assume that my SP is already mine? Or can I believe that everyone loves me, that everyone is always treating me like royalty, everyone always does things for me? Can I believe all those things? If it's a yes, great. Pat yourself on the shoulder. Keep going, keep persisting. Make that your natural possible thought. So much so that if I were to wake you up and ask you, okay, how do you feel about yourself? You should be reciting like, oh, I'm an amazing person. Everyone loves me. Everyone always treats me like royalty. Like those statements should be so natural to you. That's the point I want you guys to get to. Because when that happens, you won't have to stress about every single thing that your SP does or doesn't do. You won't be micromanaging text. You won't be overreading texts, overlooking into every single word and micromanaging all that type of things. You won't panic if your SP doesn't pick up your phone call, for example. None of those things would be happening if you have a solid self-concept. And that is what you guys should be working towards, right? And by the time SP comes, you will have made a total 180 shift that the new dynamic will be way better than the one that you may have had with your SP, right? If it's an X or something. And my thing is that most people don't work long enough to get to that point, or they just don't think that it would happen. They just don't believe in themselves to think that, okay, they can experience that relationship for themselves. And as a result, they end up doing things, or they just are simply inconsistent, dare I say lazy, and they just literally shoot themselves on the foot. Like, I really don't know how else to put it. And that is something that has to stop. Like, seriously, if you want your SP, like, you need to get your act together, and you need to really go all in, right? But when I say all in, I don't just mean like affirming for this person, or really like just doing those types of like inner conversations with this person, or visualizing with this person. But I also want you guys to pour as much love as you can into yourself, and be there for yourself, how you would expect your SP to be there for you, right? Treat yourself, pamper yourself, give yourself compliments, tell yourself that you love yourself. How many times do you do that on a daily basis? Like how many times do you say that to yourself in a week, in a month, in a year? How many times do you tell yourself that you love yourself? For most people, it would either range anywhere from like 0 to 5, like within a whole year, literally. Sometimes I know I have had years like that before. And that's the thing that we need to resolve, more so than like worrying about, okay, what kind of affirmations I should use for my SP, what kind of inner conversations I should have with my SP. What kind of inner conversations are you having with yourself? Why don't you focus on that? Why don't we talk about that? Because when those things change, SP will automatically come. And yes, I'm not saying like that is the solution for like everything, but again, like focusing on your self-concept is so crucial, because it aids you in the longevity of it. Many people again are good at manifesting their SPs back, but only few are good at keeping them. Why? Because these folks have a good self-concept. Some people have to work for it. Some people may not have to work for it that hard, because they were hardwired from the beginning to think a certain way, or maybe the family that they were born into, or their cultural values are so different that it boosts their self-concept. And there are factors here, but are those factors like the only thing that determines how good your self-concept is? No, you can work on this stuff, you can make it better, and that is what persistence is all about. And another person told me, and this was a while back, where they said, if I tell them to be patient, right? And this was like a long time ago, by the way. And like she reached out to me after like our coaching ended, and she was like saying, like, whenever like I read posts about being patient, or whenever you say like, oh, it's okay, it'll come to you, just relax, be patient, or something along those lines, like I have this like feeling of like almost like frustration and almost irritability or something like that, right? Like she said something along those lines, because apparently there's this connotation to that implies that it will take a long time. And let me tell you, like when I tell anyone to be patient, it doesn't mean it will take long. What I mean, at least in my view, is don't rush things. Don't rush things. It doesn't mean your desires will take long. And even with this client earlier that I spoke about, she was like, but what if it takes a year? And I'm like, did I say it will take a year? She's like, no. And why would you even have that timeline for yourself, firstly? But that's the thing, like when I say patience, I don't mean that it would take long, but what I do mean is don't rush things. Do not rush them. Because when you rush things, they are messy. And it kind of is a domino effect from there. So when you are starting out something, like, be patient, as in, like, don't rush things. Do not rush them, because I've noticed, like, when people have a manifestation or desire of any kind, like, they are like, okay, what do I have to do? Techniques, tell me, what can I choose? Affirmations, are these the ones? Great. What should I visualize? What should I do? And, like, they really try to rush things so much. Sometimes I have to tell people, like, hold your horses. Like, just relax for a second. What is it that you want? And is this the end goal, or is this a milestone? Some people don't even know that, by the way. Like, earlier, there was this one content request I had, and I had to reply this person with a text. But long story short, it was something related to an exam. And I asked this person, like, is the exam your goal, or is something else that you think you will get as a result of the exam, is that your goal instead? And most people dive right into this stuff that they don't even think about these things. And this person got back to me saying, you know what, now that I think about it, no, it's not the exam that's my goal. It's the fame, the recognition I will get, or something along those lines. And I'm like, there we go. Had you taken a moment to think about it, to just pause and breathe and just think, like, hey, is this something that I want? Or is this a gateway to something that I think I'll get through this thing, right? And if you just ask yourself these questions in a relaxed way, without rushing headfirst into things, which some people might think it's ironic because I'm an Aries, like, like, Rams are known to, like, rush into things head on. But, like, if you just, like, take a step back and, like, recognize that, I feel like it'll save you a lot of time. Ironically, like, sometimes all you have to do is just slow down to be the fastest. Like, the hare and the tortoise story, it's a classic one, but I feel like people forget that all the time. Slow and steady wins the race. People didn't say that for no reason, right? And that is so true in the world of manifestation, especially now more so than ever. Because these days, we are so used to getting things so quickly that even the prospect of us not getting something quick enough scares us, to the point where we might do things to accelerate the process that inevitably backfires. So in the world of manifestation, obviously, when, like, somebody wants an SP or something like that, and they feel like, okay, nothing is working and things like that, most people tend to react to the 3D in some way. They might call the SP, they might blast an email to the SP if they have been blocked elsewhere, or they might just do something like that. And it really stems from a lack of patience, right? So for me, when somebody asks, like, okay, I don't want to wait, or I feel like my manifestations may take long, how do I deal with it? I would say focus on yourself, right? And focus on other aspects of your life. Live in the present moment. Those might seem very cheesy, but, like, those things work. When you are focused on other areas of your life, the thing that you think you really, really want, i.e. an SP or any other desire for that matter, it gets lowered in terms of importance. It's being brought down from the pedestal, and therefore there's a level of detachment there that creates a sense of ease, right? Because there's no pressure there. And what I would do again is focus on yourself, right? And if I were you, I would focus on myself, that is, and really focus on becoming a magnet, right? You don't chase a butterfly, but you rather create a garden that attracts the butterfly, right? We have all seen that kind of posts on social media before, but that is so true. That, like, butterfly example has so much truth in it. And that's the way we should approach all of our desires, not just SP, but all of our desires. Become magnetic to the point where you attract everything into your life. So that begs the question, like, how do you exactly get to that point? How do you become magnetic that A, your desires doesn't seem like a big deal anymore, and B, that you start attracting everything into your life? Like, what do you exactly do to become magnetic? So one thing that I would do, and this is an iterative process, is to journal down your thoughts, observe what you're thinking, right? Look into what you're thinking, and you will really find thoughts that serves you in some instances, but also in many cases thoughts that don't serve you anymore, the thoughts that has been lingering in your mind even without you noticing that they were there all along. And you start by changing those thoughts. You start by doing things that you like, investing in yourself. It could be a hobby that you have kind of just swept under the rug, so to speak, right? Or it could be something that you've always wanted to do, but like you always had some sort of an excuse. Well, now is the time to try it. And you're not doing these things, by the way, to just manifest your desires, but you're doing these things to really like make your life a wholesome one, right? You want to make your life a fulfilling one. That's what you want to do. And when that kind of becomes your objective, and when you do things around that, like your desires becomes a afterthought, to the point where when they do come, you're just like, oh yeah, this is already mine, and you're so unfazed by it. And that place is so powerful to be in, because if you feel like, I'm affirming, I'm persisting, I am visualizing, I'm doing all my inner conversations, I'm even scripting every single day, but nothing is working, then take a step back. Because this isn't just a desire issue. This is nothing to do with your desires, but it has something to do with you. This is a deep-seated pattern that you need to resolve. And if you resolve that, your desires will come to you automatically. And look at your life, like see if you can find any patterns, right? Like those who are manifesting their SP especially, it's not just their SP where they will recognize certain behaviors in, right? They will also experience that behavior maybe from their colleagues, or in their friend circle, or even amongst their parents. Especially if you have any inner child wounds, like you can see that, right? If like you're a guy, there might be correlations between how your mother is and the girl is. Or if you're a girl, you can see how your potential father figures were to you, and like how your SP is to you. And in many cases, like a lot of my clients have been dealing with that kind of things, where a lot of their issues with their SP is directly correlated to their relationship with their parents, right? Especially like the parent who's opposite in gender to them. And that is not a coincidence. And a lot of people don't even address those issues. They don't think that those issues are big enough that it would hinder them from manifesting their SP, and they're right. But where it hinders them again is in keeping them. And that is where the issue is, because most people just think about the short-term stuff. They're short-sighted. They only think about, okay, what's going to come maybe 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. I want to get a text from my SP. I want to get a phone call from my SP. I want to manifest my SP. Those are fine. I'm not saying that those desires aren't valid, but like think long-term. Think 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. Now, this isn't for folks who just want to manifest their SP and see like, okay, if I want to decide if I really want to be with this person. That's a whole nother ball game, right? Before you start typing stuff in the comments or something, like I'm not referring to that crowd. Like I'm talking to the crowd who says like, okay, I want to be with this person for the rest of my life. Even those crowds, like they focus on just manifesting them back into their life without thinking about how to keep them for good. And the way you do that again is by becoming the magnet. And if it takes a while, so be it. And this is what I wanted to talk about mainly, is stop putting so much pressure on yourself. Stop giving yourself timelines, and stop trying to manifest certain things by certain time, which inevitably pushes everything back. Like, that is like, if that's not shooting yourself on the foot, then I don't know what is, right? And I think like wanting everything so fast, like what are you trying to prove? Or more importantly, who are you trying to prove to? Yourself? Like, okay, you can manifest things within a day, within a month. Like, what do you want, a cookie? Like, I always ask my army guys that, like, if they tell me like certain things, like I'll be like, what do you want, a cookie now? Like, nobody cares. At the end of the day, like, that's the thing. Like, those who are like academically good, like some people get their degrees when in their early 20s, some get later in their later 20s, some even get their degrees when they're in their 40s or 50s. But you know what, an achievement is an achievement regardless, right? Like, that's that. But like, I know what you guys are saying, but like with SP it's different. Like, well, I want to have a long life with this person, I want to be able to live with this person, and I completely hear you. But like, stop rushing things. The last thing you want when you rush things is to repeat that cycle and stay in that loop, only to realize like, okay, you know what, I'm finally going to do the internal work. Sherlock, if you had done that like earlier, like we wouldn't be here right now. You know what I mean? And I think like that's the perspective that many people are missing. And forgive me if I come off harsh today in this video, but like, I really want to get that point across. Stop thinking being patient means it's going to take a while. It's not. It just means like, don't rush into things, and give yourself that grace, right? Like, give yourself that grace, and you can never go wrong by working on yourself. Like, those are like the main pointers for today. If you guys take away anything from this video, just take away those two things. And people again like have this perception that like, oh, I don't want my desires to take forever, so I'm going to try to manifest them in a time crunch. Like, I have manifested things on a time crunch, and I have also manifested things like without any time crunch as well. And the time crunch ones really stress me out sometimes, right? And especially in the early days, like at this point, like I'm confident enough to say, okay, you know what, like if I want something, okay, I can have it by this time. Sure, it's already mine. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. And the times that I don't, it's because I'm stressed out. And so the golden rule that I have for myself is, unless it's like really, really important for me to get it within a time crunch, I don't put any time limits on it. And 99% of the time these days, I don't. Because as long as I know it's already mine, that's all that matters to me. As long as I can see it as mine, that's all that matters to me. I always focus on the quality of my thoughts, and it always comes to me, whatever it is. And yes, I like recently when I was in the US as well, there were certain things. I wanted to celebrate a person's birthday, but they wanted to leave the country on the 16th. Long story short, I'm sitting on the 15th or the 14th or something like that. I'm literally writing in my journal, I'm celebrating this person's birthday with them, right? And I sit down, I focus on it vividly, intensely, and like I just sit down there for a couple minutes. I write down a couple things regarding that. That's it. I dropped it. Lo and behold, I celebrate the person's birthday. The person's birthday was on the 18th of September, right? And they were supposed to leave on the 16th. And I was intending that, and like things happened in such a way that the person's plans got pushed back by a month or so, and I was able to celebrate that. So my point is, yes, like if it means a lot to you in that regard, like you can manifest things on a time crunch. But for me, it was important because, I was going to leave the country by a certain date, and I wanted to celebrate the person's birthday by then. But in many people's case, like, things, they just want things because they feel like they can't live without it. That's not true. Like, you can still be without your SP, right? And I'm not trying to trivialize that, like, by any means, but like, if you're coming off with that kind of energy, that means like, your self-concept needs a lot of work, right? Like your self-esteem is really low. Like if you're coming at it from like that perspective, even if like a vague sense of it is in your thought process, that means your self-concept needs work. And don't neglect it. Don't neglect it. If you think, oh no, it's just a, like a part of me thinks that way. No. Look into that. Because that's how it starts. Like you need to address that. Like where is that kind of thought coming from? That where is that I can't live without this person? Where is that thought coming from? Look into it and deal with it ASAP. Because if you don't do that, it starts to linger in your mind and grow, and it becomes an infestation that you have to address down the line. And a lot of the unfavorable thoughts just starts off as a spark in your mind, right? But it kind of just accumulates over time, like on a dust on a PC fan, right? And I'm saying that because that's like something that many people neglect. Like any sort of like unfavorable thought that they have, they just kind of like sweep it under the rug due to a lack of awareness mostly. But even like if you do have the awareness, like you underestimate how powerful a thought can be. That is why my friends kind of hold me accountable on this too, and I hold my friends accountable on this too, is that if a certain thought, like even if I'm jokingly like saying something to myself unfavorably, my friends call me out. If my friends do the same, I call them out. And I always ask my friends to aim big and things like that, and vice versa, right? So my point is, don't underestimate a unfavorable thought or just any thought in general. They have power, and that's how it starts before being accumulated. And that's why like I don't even like or react to any memes that has an unfavorable connotation. Like the famous one is like you versus the guy she told you not to worry about or something, right? Like in the beginning it used to be so funny, but I'm like, why would you acknowledge something that potentially says that somebody else, in this case a potential 3P, is better than you? Like why would you do that to yourself, dude? Right? Not that it's true in my life or something, but it just struck me. Like this was a couple months back. At one point I had just had this like realization. I think it was like early last year or something. But like when I had that thought, it was like, oh my goodness. So my point is, never underestimate any thought, and don't let it fester, don't let it accumulate. Address it ASAP. And by having this awareness, by addressing things, you make your life like so much more easier for yourself, and things just flows for you. And because things are flowing for you, you are at a state of ease. You are naturally just so magnetic in general, and you just attract opportunities to you. You just attract everything and everyone to you, and that's the place you want to be in. And like if you ask anyone who's always like that, like what's their secret, is they always say something along the lines of, I focused on myself, I gave myself the love, I did this for myself, I did that for myself. So I just want to like end this video with like an example, and I want you guys to go and check out her channel as well. She's a friend, and I have done a podcast episode with her before. Her name is Hillary Jubilee, right? She's also a manifestation coach, and last year she went through something. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but like long story short, it was like a toxic relationship of some kind with her previous partner, and that thing ended, right? And long story short, she really focused on herself. She gave herself the love, and I'll link the post where she spoke about it not too long ago. A couple of months back, she actually spoke about it. And long story short, this is within a year, mind you. She found a partner who was absolutely amazing. And guess what? Like, she's expecting a baby with this person right now. And I'm really happy for her. I'm really, really happy for her. And the post that really clicked for me, like one thing that really resonated with me was like, again, she made it all about herself. She gave herself the love. She gave herself the things that she needed. Fulfilling herself, becoming the magnet, and letting everything else fall into place. And that's what I would encourage you guys to do, is like, if you don't know where to begin, If you feel lost in this whole SP journey or any journey that feels like it's taking forever, take a step back, focus on yourself, focus on making yourself happy by doing things for yourself, by pampering yourself, by giving yourself the rest that you need, and by also giving yourself the permission to do the things that you like, to pursue the hobbies that you like, and really become magnetic. Do things for yourself that empowers you, that makes you feel confident. And sometimes the things that makes you feel confident, mind you, is not the easiest things either. But try, just try, right? Don't set like unrealistic goals and like really, overwhelm yourself. Set very small, achievable goals and go and do that instead, right? Like, okay, let's say you're hitting the gym, right? Like, rather than like saying, okay, I'm going to lift like a 10 kg dumbbell or something like that, right? Like, just say, okay, you know what? I'm going to try like with 2. I'm just going to enter the gym today. Just familiarize myself with the environment. That is my goal today. I'm not going to really focus on lifting weights. I'm not going to focus on anything else, but I'm just going to focus on becoming comfortable in that environment. Set minuscule goals for yourself and like work towards it. Again, not because, you want to really get your desires or something, but because you want to become the best version of yourself. And in the process, the desire becomes the byproduct. Like with business, like I said earlier, the goal is never money per se. Money is often the byproduct of, people doing the things that they like. And that is what your desire should be. Make your desires a byproduct of your amazing life. And when you can do that, everything will fall into place. So that's all from me, guys. I know this video was like super long, but I always want to like really get the message across, and I don't want to shorten it and rush things. And so if you stuck around till this point, thank you so much. I love you guys. If this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Turn on your bell notification so that you guys will know when I upload a new video every single week. Now I'm doing a brand new giveaway on Instagram for when we reach 20,000 followers on Instagram, right? For the Seeker of Wisdom account, I'm going to be giving a person 1 month DM coaching for free. So it's 1 whole month of DMs for free. So this person can message me anything that they want for unlimited number of times for that 1 month period. So all you have to do is follow me on Instagram, share it with your friends. So the sooner we reach 20,000 followers, the sooner I'll pick a winner. And that's about it, guys. I'm making the entry as simple as possible so that like it's easy for as many people to enter as possible. So yeah, go and share it with your friends, and I will be doing more giveaways. I'm also running another giveaway on my threads where when the threads page reaches 1,000 followers there, I'm giving a 30-minute coaching call as well for one lucky winner. So that's still ongoing. So I'm doing 2 giveaways at this point. If you guys have any doubts, just DM me or just put it down in the comments below. I'll answer anything regarding that or anything else regarding this whole video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.